I think that I am going to say something that a lot of Chargers fans said when they saw this tweet from Daniel Popper. You've got to be effing kidding me, because Rashawn Slater had to go to the medical tent today at practice. Chargers Now is presented by Prize Picks. I am your host, Will Ortner, and it's very clear from our takeaways that this had to be the number one thing, the number one story that we discussed around Chargers training camp practice, which did return to San Diego today. And I will tell you, as someone who is sitting in Dallas right now, it looked beautiful. Chargers Muse, they had a similar sentiment that I had. Now, I did say the four-letter word, but I think essentially every single Chargers fan went, you've got to be effing kidding me. How can Rashawn Slater get hurt this early in practice? It's the first padded practice of training camp. How could he be in a position where he gets hurt? How could there be a situation that he even gets in this spot? Can he stay healthy? The one thing that derailed this team last year was the health of the two tackles, both Slater and, of course, Joe Alt. This can't be happening again. I'll let you know exactly where Slater is at, but first, you're going to do me a favor and subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 6K. I kind of laid down the gauntlet. I thought that Chargers Now, we could get to 6K before kickoff when, of course, the Chargers take on the Arizona Cardinals week 1. Help us out. Hit that subscribe button. We are already less than 700 subscribers away from getting to that number. I think that we can do it inside of the month. Prove me right to our bosses, so that way we can do even more stuff here covering the Chargers. So Rashawn Slater, he is injured again. How bad is it? And what exactly happened? So the Chargers had started going through some big team drills, really starting to hit. And as soon as some of those movements started happening, as soon as the banging started happening, Slater, he clearly had something that he didn't like. He ended up going back into the medical tent. Now, this is a good thing because he ended up walking into the medical tent. It wasn't a situation where he had to get carried over to the medical tent. Then he went through some individual drills. He did some individual sets. But when the teamwork ended up happening, he was out of team drills and he was not participating with the crew. Trey Pipkins, he had been getting a lot of work at that left guard position. He ends up bouncing out to tackle, and Coyote Oshika ends up filling in for him. Branson Taylor also getting some reps there at that left tackle spot. You cannot have a repeat of last year where Rashawn Slater misses an entire season. Brutal torn patellar tendon injury. Telling you right now, as someone who's never had that but did watch other people have that in his college games that he played in that no one really cared about, that is a big deal. Having that type of injury is very painful. Having this type of injury is something that can pop back up and can cause you to miss more time later on. Now, the question that every Chargers fan is going to ask, is he going to miss time? Is this a rehash of the same knee injury? I'll be the first one to tell you right now. It is the question that is going to be on everyone's mind. And I think Justin Herbert gave us all a deep sigh of relief and allowed to let us know that Slater at least is in a spot where the Chargers are not too concerned about him. Herbert was smiling. He said, hey, man, it's a part of the NFL. But Slater was certainly someone that wanted to get back out onto the field. He was certainly someone that wanted to be an impactful player at the San Diego practices. Does that mean that he will be 100% and be practicing tomorrow? No, not necessarily, but it is something that is important to mention. Slater wanted to be back out on the field for this team. This was a tweet from one of the Locked On Chargers crew, and he was talking about the post-practice workout that the Chargers got into. Hey, by the way, Jim Harbaugh was down there doing some planks. Guess what? Slater participated in that. So that makes me feel like he is in a good spot and in a good position. Are you worried about Rashawn Slater's injury status right now? Go down below in our comment section. Let us know if this is a yes or if this is a no for you. For me personally, I'm not worried. This sounds like a short-term issue. Again, does that mean that he won't miss any practices? No. But it certainly feels like he is in a spot where this is not going to keep him from performing for this team during the regular season. We got more to break down, but before we do that, I need to let you know that today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 sports picks app. and is the best place to win cash while watching sports. With the football season right around the corner, there's no better time to cash in with our friends at PrizePicks. And I'll tell you this, the app is really easy to use. For player picks, just pick more or less on a few player stats and lock in your lineup. That's it. PrizePicks is available in most states, including California, Texas, and Florida. One thing I love is the new social feeds feature, where you can share PrizePicks with your friends and copy lineups with a single click. You can actually follow me on the app at BigWill7774 to see all of my lineups. I have a lineup for the football action going on later on this year. Quentin Johnston, more on his receiving TDs. Kenyon Sadiq, more on his receiving TDs. Jackson Smith and Jigba, more on his receiving TDs. New user offer. Best of all, play your first $5 and get $150 in lineups if you win. Just use code HMA when you sign up. That's right. PrizePicks just switched up their offers, so there's no better time to join. Lock in and win that first lineup. That's code HMA at signup to get $150 in bonus lineups if you win your first $5 plus lineup. We're back to our daily segment of who's going to play left guard. The left guard position battle continues to brew right now in Los Angeles. I guess I actually get to say in San Diego because the Chargers were practicing in San Diego. And here's essentially what Jim Harbaugh had to say before practice. There was a question of who is leading the charge, and is it Coyote Oshika? Now, he made it very clear that he certainly seems to be in a spot where Oshika is the one that they are relying upon the most. Now, Jake Slaughter is certainly in the mix. When he says ahead of schedule, to me, that seems clear that not necessarily that Slaughter is in a position where he's going to win that left guard spot, but when you draft a guy who's been a career center in college football and then ask him to move position, it does take some time to be ready to go out on the field. He's in a spot where he's probably not yet that starting left guard, that number one left guard, but maybe by the end of the year, they could play him into a spot where he is that. Plus, right now, even if Slaughter doesn't win that position, you have a guy who can play multiple spots on the line, and that is a good thing. Now, when it came to 11 on 11s, Pipkins had originally been out on the field playing that left guard spot as soon as Slater went into the tent. Garrett here did a great job of kind of covering the practice and tweeting about it. Told us that Pipkins went back to left tackle, Coyote Oshika at left guard. When you look at the offensive line depth chart, I think at this point we're not going to see any new potential players that could end up being a fight or in a fight for that left guard spot. But it certainly feels like there is going to be a rotation and players are going to have the opportunity to earn their way into this starting crew. Whether it's Coyote Oshika, Taylor, Penning, Pipkins, or of course Jake Slaughter, there is going to be a big fight for that spot. What'll be interesting to note, though, Jim Harbaugh did say he plans to figure out through the next 9 to 12 practices who's going to be that starting left guard. So essentially, to me, it feels like you're going to get through the majority of the preseason. Wouldn't shock me if you even got through that third preseason game before the Chargers end up making the decision on who is going to be their guy going into the year. Does that mean he will be the starter at left guard all 17 games, all the way through week 18? No. But it is certainly something that we need to be paying attention to. I'm interested to see how, as the pads get put on and we get into preseason games, the battle changes. Coyote Oshika might be in the lead right now, but he's really only had one padded practice. How will that look by the time all things are said and done? I thought the offense looked very strong today. Now, we're going to have to discuss Dame Tucker and some of the things that he was able to do on a different video. But what impressed me the most, and has impressed me the most through camp so far, is how quickly Mike McDaniel has been able to get his scheme set and has been able to get his players absolutely balling out. Now, there were a lot of frustrations coming from the Chargers defense, at least early on, with the success of one Justin Herbert. He was able to find multiple open receivers. I think the number was 8 passes in a row that he completed without having an incomplete pass before that first incompletion went through. Now, Herbert did talk about Tre Harris and Ladd McConkey and how they've been stacking positive days for this team and for this roster. When you look at the two players here, you need both of them, along with Quentin Johnston, to really stand out. They have been guys who have not been performing necessarily at the level that you would previously have wanted from players of their caliber. There was an expectation that Harris would come in and have a lot of success early. He didn't necessarily do that. Now, he earned his way onto the field, but he was very clearly the fourth option. Ladd McConkey and Quentin Johnston. These are two guys that have been in the National Football League now for more than a handful of years. They need to show that they can be impactful players for this team, and they certainly seem to be stacking up day after day after day where they're having this type of success. Which Chargers offensive player will break out in the 2026 year? Is it going to be Harris? Is it going to be Johnston? Could it potentially be Amari and Hampton? Go down below in our comment section and let us know which player you think is in the spot to best have the number one 2026 season for their career. Lastly, we're going to end with another daily segment that we've been hitting here on the show. Where's Tuli at? Tuli did not participate in team drills today. Now, Jim Harbaugh had originally said that there was an expectation for him to participate in team drills today as he gets ready for his ramp up. Then we learned from ESPN's Chris Rim, he was back working off on the side with a trainer. I don't really fault Tuli for doing this. He doesn't have the extension that he wants. He's doing a hold-in, so he's participating in 90% of the things that you want him to participate in. He's just not participating in the team drills. I don't think that, again, this is a problem. If you are a Chargers Now real one, you know that I don't need Tuli participating right now. I need him participating probably by the end of August, so that way, the beginning of September, he hits the ground running. But it certainly feels like this is just another headache. This is just another story that could easily get taken care of. It's just going to take a few more days, maybe even a few more weeks. I hope that's wrong, but General Manager Joe Ortiz, the rest of that Chargers front office, they are working to find a deal, and Tuli's representation is also working to find a deal because you don't want to go into the final year of Tuli's rookie contract without that extension put in place. He's been very good for the Los Angeles Chargers, and he's certainly someone that you're going to want on this roster long term. The question is are the Chargers going to be able to get a deal done that most benefits them? Ortiz is going to keep playing hardball. I think this deal gets done, but until then, we're just going to have to make sure that we get you daily updates. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the content that we have here on the channel. We love covering the Chargers. A 2-video day for you, by the way. We love covering this team. Don't miss any of the content we have. Hit that sub button. Thank you guys so much for viewing today's video. Make sure that you come back next time. And for the first time in front of new Chat Sports employee Cooper, bolt the freak up.